Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Football Office Hours presented by Front Yard Fantasy. It's in the game, right, JL? You know what's up. I'm joined today by my lovely co-host. We're always together here, JL. How you feeling today?
Feeling great, feeling good, feeling all right.
Feeling good on a Tuesday. And Rick, you were just on our last stream. Thank you for joining us today to answer people's fantasy football related questions. Any questions they may have. How you feeling today, Rick?
Hi, I'm great. Again, feel blessed to be here with you guys and excited to answer some of these questions.
I don't want to speak for JL, but I personally feel blessed to have
Josh.
you here with us. So, do you agree, Joe?
Oh,
did I speak for you, right?
Agree. You spoke for me perfectly, Josh.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna blush. I'm gonna blush. Be careful.
Well, like I said, we are going to be answering any fantasy football related questions or
any
questions you might have. I don't know what it is.
We are here for
to
you.
Answer questions.
Your time.
Exactly. JL gets it. So I see a question from Jay Wall here, so let's just get in there, right? Jay Wall asks, what's Devonta Smith's outlook this week? Will he go off or?
Oh no, the technical issues continue. Look at that. Josh's internet goes out. I'm assuming that it's Josh's internet because I still see you, Rick.
Yeah.
Unless both of our internets have gone out and all of a sudden we're in some weird like metaverse.
Exactly.
Would that not be? That would be awesome if we.
Would be cool. Josh is back. Awesome. He's back.
Yeah, same. So I know, we were obviously just talking about Devonta Smith's outlook this week, or will he stay cold? We have to mention that the Eagles play the Washington football team tonight. So I'm not 100% sure if you're talking about this week, as in week 15 of the NFL season, or week 16.
But that's so weird with football on Tuesday.
Yeah, this is the one day where that becomes an ambiguous question, Jay Wall.
So you got to be a little bit concerned, I think, about Devonta Smith coming into this week. They just had a bye last week, but previous to that, he got 4 targets and 2 catches in each of the last 2 games. Before that, didn't get over 22 yards. And before that, the most catches he got, since week 5 was 5 catches. So he hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but I think this guy has a lot of talent. If it were in Washington, their defense is not something we're necessarily afraid of, right, guys? So when it comes down to it, Rick, do you expect Devonta Smith to have a good game tonight against the Washington football team?
I think it's hard to expect anything out of the Eagles offense right now. Every time we think we have them figured out, they're not running the ball at all. So we think that the wide receivers are in a good spot, and then they start running the ball all the time, and then they don't. And he's got the talent, obviously. What type of game are we going to get from Jalen Hurts? There's so many factors that go into Devonta Smith's success that makes it very tough to figure out. Obviously the matchups there, I think he's got some upside, but yeah, I think he's a mediocre play for me.
So I'm just looking at the wide receivers that performed so far this week, and I'm talking about in PPR leagues. Zay Jones looks like he's the 20th overall wide receiver this week with 12.7 fantasy points. Do we think that Devonta Smith can crack into the top 20? That just means getting 12.7 fantasy points. For Zay Jones, that came in the form of 9 targets, 6 receptions for 67 yards. And, when it comes down to it, I know he's been lackluster lately, but I'm going to take the over here. I think that Devonta Smith does crack the top 20 wide receivers. So I guess I like Devonta Smith. What do you think, Dale?
Just barely. I think he just barely gets over that 12-point threshold in PPR format. So, yeah, I would say I would take the over as well.
What do you think, Rick? Would you take over or under 12.7 PPR fantasy points for Devonta Smith tonight?
I mean, to put it easy, if Zay Jones can do it, Devonta Smith can do it.
fair.
I mean, if we're just going to look at it from that aspect, I think that Devonta Smith definitely can. I wouldn't put money on it. I wouldn't feel comfortable there. Like I wouldn't.
I wouldn't feel comfortable putting money on it either, but like you said, if Zay Jones can do it, I think anyone can. But Zay Jones arguably has a better quarterback throwing in the football as well, maybe, right? Maybe. That's debatable, I guess. Derek Carr, I think he could throw a pretty ball, but let's move on. Carlos comes in and said, I have Jamar and DK in my starting lineup. I really need help at wide receiver right now. I'm looking at the desolated wire. Could Amon-Ra be the guy? Would you start him over DK or Jamar given their performance? And I'll start off real
Great
fast and say
question,
no.
Carlos.
Just no, I couldn't do it. I want to see how DK performs tonight. But JL, what do you think here? Could you start Amon-Ra St. Brown next week over DK? We're gonna see how he plays tonight, and Jamar Jefferson or Jamar Jefferson.
It's unlikely
Jamar
if DK
Chase.
Jamar Jefferson, Justin Jefferson. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not over Jamar Chase, not at all. I'm not going to take the one week where they just didn't have much passing volume and extrapolate. Jamar Chase is not going to do well going forward. DK, I could see there being a world where I do play Amon-Ra St. Brown over DK, but it's not likely. It's not likely. I think he'll be fine tonight. And it would be very tough. I would have to have a very strong constitution to be able to make that move this late in the season.
What about you, Rick?
Yeah, I'm not. We're in the playoffs. These, Jamar and DK are absolute studs, even though DK hasn't been performing that way and Jamar had a down week. But we know both of these guys are capable of doing whatever Amon-Ra can do. So if I'm going down, I'm going down with my studs in the lineup. And not that Amon-Ra can't be. I think he's done very well, especially in the situation that he's in as a rookie wide receiver. But I got to go down with those guys if I'm going down.
And obviously, if DK Metcalf has a good week tonight, you're not going to be considering that. But what if DK Metcalf completely craps the bed tonight? What if he has one catch for 12 yards tonight? Let's just say, for an example, could you possibly start Amon-Ra, who's been getting over 10 targets the last 3 weeks, over DK? JL, it sounded like you were kind of leaning that direction.
It's close enough, sure. Yeah. Amon-Ra has Atlanta next week, which is a super easy matchup. DK has Chicago, which is not too bad of a matchup either. It's kind of an easy matchup for wide receivers as well. But if he doesn't do well tonight with limited competition, it's a volume play. So I'm fine making that decision if you need to.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, DK needs to have a good game tonight, right, Rick?
Well, see, my thing, I'm still looking at this Lions offense. We don't know what Jared Goff we're going to get on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
My thing is that we do know DK can do whatever the high-end Amon-Ra stats you can come up with. We know DK can do that, even if it's been bad for 6 straight weeks. And we know Amon-Ra's floor can be the same as DK's. So it's like I'd just rather go down with my player that I drafted very, very high personally. If it wasn't a Jared Goff, if Amon-Ra had a quarterback that I was, fairly certain would have at least a solid week, then it would make it different. But Jared Goff has to play into this too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Jared Goff has found that he loves targeting him, especially lately. I think it's a floor play against a ceiling play. I think DK is going to have a good game tonight, so it probably won't end up mattering in the end. So let's see what happens tonight, right? And come back and talk to us about it next stream, Carlos. Justin saying, "What's up, guys? What's up, Justin?
What up, Justin?"
Just has a question. Do I win? I am down 19 and got Eagles defense and Antonio Gibson's news just dropped. JD is out 3 more games, so I guess that's going to help Antonio Gibson's pass catching upside. Rick, I want to come to you first here. Justin's down 19 and he's got the Eagles defense and Antonio Gibson. How do you feel about his odds of winning tonight?
I mean, with it not likely that Washington's offense is going to go berserk, I think that you're sitting in a pretty good spot if you're down 19, and especially if this is a PPR, Gibson could get 4 or 5 receptions, and that's going to put you in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. JL, what do you think?
The other thing that we didn't really talk about earlier either is that the Eagles have actually been really good at shutting down outside receivers. So, the run game is probably going to be where Washington, even, especially with the quarterback switch up there with COVID, is going to have more success against the Eagles.
Yeah, it's close. It's going to be tough to get more than 19, I think, out of both of those pieces, but it's absolutely possible. With Eagles defense this week, out of all the weeks with all the COVID stuff, you might just have a shot.
I Listen, I like your odds. I like your odds. I think you're gonna win this game, Justin. I'm gonna give you a 63% chance of winning. Let's go.
The problem is if Gibson scores, your defense goes backwards, right? Like you lose points on one
a
side
little
of it.
bit, a little bit. Right?
If Gibson goes for multiple-
scores, right? You're feeling you want Gibson scoring. You want Gibson scoring though. But, Eagles defense is a great play tonight against, Gilbert at quarterback. So there could be a lot of interceptions at the same time. So I like your odds still. Justin. Justin also had a question. Rojo, Perrine, Reynolds, are they ads for this week? Yes, they're at. Yeah. Rojo, Perrine, Samaji, and Reynolds. What did I say? Perrine? I said Perrine. Samaji. Yeah. They're all absolutely ads. I think Rojo would be my number one out of all these guys for sure.
It would go in that order for me.
Yeah, and there's a pretty decent gap between Perrine and Reynolds for me.
Yeah, Reynolds, I'm iffy on. If you have the spot, then sure. But I don't know that he's going to be super relevant.
Keep an eye out for Devin Singletary. I think he could be on some waiver wires out there, and I know they play the Patriots.
He would go behind Rojo ahead of Perrine for me if available.
I'm right there with you. Carlos, Cowboys have Washington at home. Do I trust Dak even though he's made me look like a fool the last 3 weeks, or do I stream quarterback and hope for the best? Carlos, I'm going to say, it's going to depend on your streaming options when it comes down to it. I'm disappointed with Dak lately. I'm not going to lie. There's plenty of quarterbacks out there going into next week that I am willing to start over Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott's still going to wind up as a top 12 quarterback for me. So JL, what are you thinking here?
I am right there with you. I'm right there with you, Josh. I'm hoping that he gets it together for Washington. He didn't have it together against Washington just 2 weeks ago or last week. So it's iffy, but he's still top 12. I'm making the same decision, Carlos. I'm coming off by in my main dynasty league in the playoffs. Josh is in it right there with me. And and I got to decide whether to play Dak or Kirk or I forget who else I have in that league. Dak or Kirk are the two mains.
Wow.
How about you, Rick?
You guys have it easy. I have to think, and first off, I'll answer if I have Dak, I'm probably starting him. It's hard to get away from him unless there is a really good option to stream. But I'm gonna have to seriously, if going back to Carlos' first question about Amon-Ra and them, I think we have to pay attention to whether Jared Goff clears COVID protocols before that game comes along next week, right? Because are you taking Jared Goff's backup with Amon-Ra, even if DK has a bad game? So that's something else to watch, because even though I was kind of knocking Jared Goff, he's better than whoever the backup is. I don't even remember who is there, but I might have to consider starting Jake Fromm in my league because I have Jared Goff who's on COVID, and they shut Daniel Jones down, who's normally my number 2 quarterback in a Superflex league. So I would like to be able to pick between Dak and Kirk Cousins. Instead, I'm picking between Jake Fromm and another wide receiver.
That sounds rough. Dude, Rick.
I went in. I scored the most points this week in that league when I'm on bye, and then Fournette gets hurt, Kelce goes on COVID, Jared Goff goes on COVID. So it's like, why couldn't you guys have done this the week where I don't play and then get healthy for the week that I do? But it's kind of went the opposite for me. So have a rough spot there.
Absolutely. So let's see what else we got here. Justin saying the Hill news sucks. I'm probably gonna have to start Waddle. I think that's fine, Justin. I wouldn't be too worried about starting Waddle. He's a top 10 wide receiver, especially in a PPR league. But Justin asks, is Lazard a pickup now with the MVS news? Is Lazard a pickup now with the MVS news? MVS was just added to the COVID list. So Lazard is the number 2 wide receiver, it looks like, going into next week, most likely for the Packers. But we've said this many times. I can't find myself trusting the number 2 wide receiver for the Packers, right? Especially in my fantasy playoffs. I don't know if I'm going to have putting a lot of faith in Lazard. It depends on your other options. If you're desperate for a receiver, Lazard, he's a back end number 3 receiver probably this week. So what do you think about this, Rick?
Here would be my question, and this is for you, to you guys. Who would you feel more comfortable starting, like Laquan Treadwell, that you could probably pick up from the Jags, who's been getting 5-6 receptions every week, or Lazard as the number
I'll go
2 in
Lazard.
Green Bay?
Lazard for sure.
Yeah,
so much more upside. So much more upside.
Yeah.
I just feel like I think it depends on where you're at in your matchup, but I feel like right now Laquan Treadwell, as weird as it sounds, seems like a more safe play. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think there's a way I could put any of them in my lineup unless I was like super, super desperate. But the other thing is that these guys could be back, right? By the time with the changes they made to, getting players off of the COVID list, especially when they have no symptoms. That's the problem for us, right? We don't know what symptoms these guys are having. So if MVS is having no symptoms, but he tested positive, he could go and get off that by Saturday and play. So that's the tough part with all this COVID stuff. And thanks for showing up during the playoffs.
Exactly. So I think we're hesitant to just tell you that Lazard's going to be a good start next week, but he's usable. He's usable, right? JR coming in saying, great show, guys. Thanks for all the help this year. Any more office hours this week? Yeah, there's going to be some office hours Thursday. Same time, around 4:15, right after our stream on at 3 o'clock. So
yeah,
talking to you on Thursday.
Thanks for coming, John.
Absolutely. Carlos saying Simon's bath and break is going into OT. Yeah, no, not quite.
Triple OT.
JML Sports, everyone sold me from CD, Kamara, Frida. Oh man, that sucks. That's your team there. I'm in some similar situations. This was such a weird week. Craig's asking, I'm down by 26 points with Gibson, RSJ, Jordan Brooks, Ryan Neal, and Aaron Donald going against Henderson. How you feel about this one? For me, it's a bunch of defensive players. We are nowhere near experts talking about fantasy and defenses. Rick, do you have any knowledge you can bestow upon us here? How do you feel about Craig's chances of winning this?
I like it. I really feel like Gibson and Henderson are probably going to, well, it's tough because how much is Michelle going to be in there? Gibson might gain you a few points on Henderson. And then, I feel like your defensive guys, Aaron Donald probably going to get you a sack in there. I think I would like that side of it by a fair margin.
Yeah.
I really like Gibson
and Henderson
a lot this week
cross each other out a little bit.
I really think Gibson could have the better week, especially if they ease Henderson in, and they've said that they're going to kind of use both backs. So how much is Michelle going to be involved? I kind of like Gibson.
I get that.
A fair margin over Henderson.
Yeah. JL, any insight here?
I have no insight for Craig.
Gotcha. Understandable.
I don't know three of the players on this in this question.
I think I lean your side, Craig. Again, not a defensive expert, but I'll give you a 54% chance of winning here. Roto Solly saying, where did you find time for 2 shows? And
I will tell you this.
His calendar, probably.
In between shows, I took a sales call. While I was trying to get everything worked up, I had a sales call in between.
And did you close the sale?
We got a meeting for tomorrow.
Okay.
JML Sports first round excerpt after putting.
Oh, brutal!
Oh no,
that is so brutal.
That's what I fear. Both of my bigger leagues, I had buys this week, and I might score the most points in both of them out of all 12 teams.
Thank the good Lord, I have 3 buys out of my 20 or so fantasy leagues because I got wrecked this week. I lost 7 playoff games. I lost all of them. Unless DK Metcalf gets 35 points.
Oh no.
Or Cooper Kupp gets under 13. So
are you gonna lose
I still have chances. Yeah, I'm going to lose to Tommy.
Never mind about that dynasty league I mentioned earlier.
Hey, Jordan, Butts, JL, and Josh. Wow, this is amazing. This is a crew. This is a crew and a half. Rody Solly saying Eagles want to run some more bad news for Smith, my friend. I feel you. I do think they want to run. If they and they're probably going to be able to. They're probably not going to have to score a ton to win that game. So, Ethan, what's up, Ethan? Would you play Smith, McLaren, or Van Jefferson? This is a question for tonight, and I think this is a very good question. Man, Van
PPR,
Jefferson
full
seemed like a
PPR.
smash play throughout the year when we were thinking Odell Beckham was going to be out, but now it looks like Odell Beckham's going to be in there, and it seems like Van Jefferson and Odell play in the same part of the field, but I think he's still an option here. So, JL, I see you moving around your head. I don't know if you have an answer yet, but I want to come to you first.
I'm going to go Van Jefferson.
You're going to go Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I don't. All three of these guys are close, so don't hear me saying that it's for sure Jefferson is going to outscore them. But Mclaren, I'm going to give Van Jefferson the edge over Mclaren just because of the QB situation, team situation, and Devonta Smith. It's the same inconsistency. The fact that this offense doesn't pass a ton makes me a little bit more concerned. Now, Devonta Smith's matchup is much easier than Van Jefferson's, but I'm going to lean Van Jefferson here.
What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, he's just been more consistent than these guys with, once Robert Woods went down. So I just don't see how we're not putting in that guy that seems to have a solid floor and ceiling in a great offense with a great quarterback over two guys in inconsistent offenses with inconsistent quarterbacks. I got to go Van Jefferson as well.
For me, I love buying into the narrative that, again, like McLaurin's going to get peppered with targets because he's the most talented wide receiver on that team. And I think they're going to probably need some help from McLaurin specifically. So I lean McLaurin. If it was my fantasy team, it's probably McLaurin. But I like that you guys both chose Jefferson because it's probably the right call. so Ethan, go listen to these guys. If it was my fantasy team, I'd play McLaurin. But listen to these guys.
Great question, Ethan. Great question.
Great question. Oh, JML, swear the list goes on for JML. David Montgomery too. I'm sorry. It was a weird week. Matt Clayton, what's up, Matt? Do you feel bad for someone who has Kelce going into next week of the playoffs, and you're facing them?
No,
that's because you guys. Obviously, you guys don't like friendships because this is who I face next week in the playoffs, where I lost Fournette, Kelce on COVID, Jared Goff on COVID.
So this question's about you.
Yes, this question is specifically about me.
No, I don't feel bad at all.
Yeah, I would feel bad for myself, sure, if it was me in the situation.
Yeah, I feel bad for me.
But yeah, I don't feel bad at all either. I don't feel bad at all. And there's still a chance he's going to play when it comes down to it, right?
Yeah, there's still a chance, but right now I'm hurting.
Yeah.
Sad.
I lost Travis Etienne and J.K. Dobbins at the beginning of the season.
We all did that. We all lost that. We didn't do it when the money's there.
The money's always there, Rick. The money never leaves.
The win this week for either of us is worth a minimum of $550. So
that's nothing. Chump change.
It stings. I wish it was chump change.
So unless you're Rick, we're not feeling bad about this. Right? We're not feeling bad about this. Yeah.
Hey, Matt. So can I give you the finger on here? Is that allowed?
Go for it.
Sure.
Do your thing.
I don't know.
That's for you, Matt.
Yeah, Matt.
That's for you, Matt.
Yeah, take that, Matt. Take that, Matt.
We're barely adults. I'm
not saying that, but Rick's saying it. So
yeah,
there it is.
No,
we love you, Matt. We love you.
No, they don't.
So I have Javonte, Saquon, Henderson, Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Odell Beckham Jr. Pick 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs and 1 flex. So I'm assuming this is going into week 16. And we have to pick 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex. So guys, let's start with the 2 wide receivers. He has Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, and Deontay Johnson here. We haven't seen DK Metcalf play tonight, and I think that could affect our decisions. Right now, if I'm making my decision, you had to make me pick right now without seeing DK Metcalf's performance tonight, I am going with Deontay Johnson and Marquise Brown. JL, what do you think in terms of receivers right here?
I think, God, the DK thing really throws us off. It's definitely Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree there.
And then I'm between DK and Marquise Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I would lean.
It's a tough one.
It is tough. I'm gonna lean. Who's Marquise Brown playing? Cincinnati. I would lean. You know what? I'll lean Marquise Brown. I'll go with you, Josh.
Okay. And Rick, what about you?
That's where I'm at fairly easily with the wide receivers. I mean, obviously Deontay first week he didn't score at least 10 points this year. I think he only had a couple below 15, so just a bad week. So he's the best, probably the number 1 play on this entire list for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So let's move over to the running back. So he has Javonte Williams, Saquon Barkley, and Darrell Henderson. Again, we didn't see Henderson's kind of like that, a similar question to mark to DK Metcalf. We haven't seen him play this week. We don't know how that split with him and Sony Michel is going to look. If Sony Michel's getting the majority of carries, this is going to make it a lot easier making this decision. And you know what? Regardless, I'm going to go with Javonte and Saquon. Rick, what do you think here? Two running backs.
If I knew Henderson was getting all the work, I would probably go Javonte and Henderson here, just because that Giants offense is putrid and Saquon's had not much of a shot, but they do get the Eagles. And I've talked about how I like running backs versus the Eagles. So I'm going to go Javonte and Saquon. If we see that Henderson is getting all the work, then I would go Henderson over Saquon, dependent on tonight's game.
I'm right there with you, Rick. What do you think, Joe?
I'm with you guys. Javonte, Saquon.
Hey. So we have the same decisions going into our flex choice here. So we all chose Javonte, Saquon, Marquise Brown, and Deontay Johnson with a little asterisk over a couple of those guys. So what we have left is Darrell Henderson and DK Metcalf, and I'm going to go with DK Metcalf. What do you guys think?
What was the question?
And there's also Odell Beckham Jr. Sorry.
Okay.
So we need one flex. So who have we left is
DK.
Saquon Barkley, DK Metcalf, and Odell Beckham Jr. I'm going with DK. JL goes with DK as well, and Rick's going.
I'm going OBJ. Just the touchdown upside he's had with the Rams. He's already showing it. That he's got a decent floor with them. You know, the first game he played, which was like 5 days after he got over there, is the only game that he doesn't have a touchdown. So I think he's got a pretty solid floor. Doesn't have the upside because Kupp takes that away. Plus Van Jefferson as well as he's been playing. But I feel like he's got a solid floor there. Assuming this is PPR, I would look that way. Obviously, DK could catch 2 touchdown passes and that'd be it.
All right. So that was a good summary there, guys.
Maria says she came to study.
Sorry, I took it off the screen because Jordan, big news, just breaking news. Jordan Bannock was placed on the COVID-19 list today. This is disappointing news for all of us, guys. We are not going to be able to start Jordan going into next week. He confirmed that with a frowny face.
Symptoms or no symptoms? I'm trying to figure out if he can get pulled off the list.
We're gonna have to ask Jordan that. But there is love for Jordan here in the chat saying, "Feel better soon, Jordan. Get an appointment."
Yes, definitely.
He said get an appointment for that kid's vaccine.
So messed up. And Jordan, I don't know if you're hanging out with Beasley over the weekend or something, but Cole Beasley also has COVID. He's out the next 10 days because. Joey said, does anyone remember the children's show Gilbert? He was a little puppet, freckles, orange hair. I love puppets. Yeah, Brody Solly loves Joey.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, that's a question. I don't remember the show. Do you guys remember the show?
No.
I remember the name. I don't remember watching it or anything, but I remember the show.
Carlos. Good question.
Carlos. Start one, flex one. Devontae Freeman, James Conner, AJ Dillon, Ronald Jones. Rick, I'm putting you on the spot here. You need to start one of these people. You need to flex one. So it's one person in your running back position, one person in your flex. Which two are you going with, Rick?
Hey, we talked about it on the tiers. I think Ronald Jones is the one to start. He was in the must start for me. And then Connor was in the great start. And the other two guys I would like to avoid if at all possible. So it's pretty easy. I'm starting Rojo and Connor in this scenario.
JL?
Yeah. It's Ronald Jones and James Conner.
It's the same.
I think Devonta Freeman will do better than a lot of people believe based off of some of the conversations we had this week, but not over Connor and Ronald Jones.
Yeah. Well, we got to make the point that Ronald Jones is only a start if Leonard Fournette doesn't play, and it looks like he's not going to be playing for this week at least, but that has not been confirmed yet. So if Leonard Fournette's not in there, Ronald Jones is in your lineup, and I'm the same way. It's James Conner and Ronald Jones for me.
Yep.
Diego, is Patterson still a must start? Could start Higgins over him? That's actually a fun question, but Patterson's playing the Detroit Lions next week. We actually did a stream that started at 3:00 Eastern time where we actually put Patterson in the must starts among all running backs in the must start tier. So guys, is Cordell Patterson a must start? I know we all put him in that tier and we said we're high on him this week, but would you start T Higgins over him, JL?
No, I wouldn't.
All right. And Rick, what about you? T Higgins or Cordell Patterson next week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would love to get both of these players in the lineup if I could, but I just think with the amount of touches Patterson gets, it's much less likely that he hurts your lineup than Higgins, just because we know he could have a 3 for 40 day and only score you 7 points or whatever in a PPR league. So I just think it's hard for Patterson to go that low in a matchup versus the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions, guys. It's the Lions. Patterson is a start over Higgins for me. It's going to be really difficult to get away from Cordarrelle Patterson next week, even with this disappointing performance this previous week. So start Cordarrelle Patterson. Midnight, drop 1 for St. Brown. Are you dropping Gaskin, KJ Osborne, Jimmy G, or Fields? Man, I wish there was a little bit more context here, Midnight, because Superflex, if this is a Superflex league, which it kind of looks like it might be, it's going to be hard to drop one of the quarterback. It's probably KJ Osborne
knowing
for me.
your other, especially without knowing your other QBs.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably KJ Osborne for me because Adam Thielen could be back next week. He was a game time decision coming into this week. So it's probably KJ Osborne, but I don't like holding 2 quarterbacks, especially of this tier in a 1 quarterback league. So if it's 1 quarterback league, I'll actually lean one of the quarterbacks there. JL, what do you think here? Or right. Yeah.
No. I was just gonna say, if you have Jimmy G and Fields and neither of them are the starter, then it's clearly I would probably go with Jimmy G here. If you've you're starting, Aaron Rodgers or something, and then have these 2 on your bench, I would definitely drop one of those. No reason for 3 of them. But Osborne, if you want to hold on to the 2 QBs.
And JL?
I'm right there with you guys. Osborne, if it's a super flex or 2 QB league, otherwise one of the QBs.
Yeah,
I will say Jimmy G plays Houston in week 17.
We got to mention that maybe this is a situation where these are his 2 quarterbacks. And that actually makes a lot more sense. It's a 1 quarterback league. These are the only 2 quarterbacks you have. I understand wanting to hold both because
COVID.
Neither one of them are locked and loaded must starts at all. So it's a matchup thing. But Jimmy G, like you said, has a good matchup. So I would be playing Jimmy G. So yeah.
That's tough. They're pretty close.
Exactly. Carlos, Josh, imagine DK getting 35 points. This would be the week considering Tyler Lockett is out. I completely agree. I'm crossing my fingers. I will be praying for it.
And just this is relevant to that last one. Thielen and Scott says Thielen could be back. Next 2 against Rams and Green Bay could be Osborne. Yeah. Those are not favorable matchups.
Yeah, Osborne does not need to be on your fantasy team whatsoever.
No. Yeah, I definitely like Amon Ra over him.
So Bryce asking, is OBJ going to cover 28 versus Kupp and Sanders tonight? Is OBJ going to cover 28 versus Kupp and Sanders tonight? I'm a little lost.
So basically he's saying, yeah. So if you think OBJ gets what would you say? 14? He's probably projected for 14 or 15 median projections.
I'll give him 15 points. Sure.
12?
I'll give him 15 points.
So basically you're saying, are Kupp and Sanders going to score 40 to 45 points plus?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think you're pretty good there with OBJ and 28.
OBJ's points plus 28 versus Kupp and Sanders. That's kind of the question. Yeah, I'll go on the OBJ 28 side of this.
God, I think Kupp and Sanders could get close to 45, honestly.
They could, but what are your odds there? What do you think that's likely?
So 45. 45, and then OBJ is probably going to get 15 or so.
Well, don't worry about. Well, you're already adding the 45s coming from OBJ, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's on a 15 to 17 point.
Yeah. That's a good game from OBJ.
That'd be a really good. Yeah,
I lean the OBJ side plus 28 points here, but. Yeah, I'll give if you're on the OBJ
40
side,
himself.
You're right. If you're on the OBJ side, I'll give you a 54% chance of winning.
Yeah, I think that's a fair evaluation.
All right, cool. We're on the same page. Hey, what's up, Dylan? Van Jefferson or Scary Terry? We kind of just had this question, but I'm fine. He's up 12 points in the playoffs. He has Antonio. Oh, so the other person has Antonio Gibson. You're up 12 points, and you need to decide between Van Jefferson and Scary Terry. So we just had a very similar question where it was 3 wide receivers. There was another one added into this. Devonta Smith, I think. Yes. So I know both of you guys said Van Jefferson, correct? And you're going to stay with that?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I'm gonna lean more into that probably here.
Yeah, you gotta take the floor, right? You
Yeah.
just, you want to get 8 points, you're probably pretty safe.
Yes, I would agree. So when it comes down to it, I said, like, I wanted to give a nod to Scary Terry in the last question just because I think he is going to get peppered with targets. But in this scenario, I think I go with Van Jefferson myself when it comes down to it. But I'm very close between Scary Terry and Van Jefferson regardless. So, it is what it is. Who do you guys play next week? Van Jefferson or AJ Green? And it's Van Jefferson for me. I know DeAndre Hopkins is out, but what do you think, Rick?
Man, that's tough. AJ Green's getting a lot of work. Who do we got? Cardinals play the Colts. Rams play. I just looked at them. Vikings.
Oh, yeah. The Vikings like to give up fantasy points to just
outside receivers.
Yeah.
Probably go Van Jefferson there.
Yeah.
That's
Van
tough.
Jefferson for me.
What if it was Christian Kirk?
I slightly prefer Christian Kirk over AJ Green, but I'll still go Van Jefferson.
Still Van Jefferson? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Is it different for you, Jail?
No, I think that's right.
So Midnight said I only picked up QBs because my opponent had Lamar. I see what you're messing doing a little mess around there. So drop the QBs. Yeah. Drop the QBs. Dylan, I'm glad we could help you out. He said without a quarterback in Washington, it looks like he's struggling to make a decision here. Thanks, boys. That's tough. What I think too.
That is
it is so tough to figure out because you know what? Maybe I should just pull up Gilbert's numbers because he got a couple starts last year, right?
Scott came in here and asked, what is Chase Edmonds' outlook against the Colts? I am in the semifinals of a 10K prize high stakes league. That is awesome. That is awesome, Scott. That is so freaking exciting. I believe we just did our fantasy tiers and we actually put Chase Edmonds in the emergency start tier. Having said that, he does have upside. I just don't think a lot of us have a lot of faith in him going against the Colts, who have one of the best rush defenses in the league, right? And we haven't really seen him come back. And I think James Conner has gotten more and more involved. He's earned more of a pass catching role for this team as well. So Chase Edmonds is a startable, but we're trying to avoid it if we can, right, Jo?
Yeah. Very, very risky. And so I'm going to try and be risk averse especially in a high stakes league like that. But sometimes you don't, it's really going to be dependent on what you need, what your roster needs, your opponent, right? If you're down against your opponent heading into that game in week 16, then it might make sense to throw in Chase Edmonds and pray for a big game. I think I was the lowest out of between Josh and Simon and Jay and I, and I'm probably still the lowest. So I wouldn't trust him, but I completely agree with you, Josh.
Yeah. And Rick, real fast, you're trying to avoid Chase Edmonds against the Colts next week?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard with Connor in that backfield. It really limits the upside of Chase Edmonds, which is what I'm looking for here. I will say is that don't let the money make decisions for you in these spots. Coming from a background in poker, playing for more money should not change your actions. Do what got you here and make the decisions like you've made all year. And
you're in the semifinals for a reason.
Yeah, try to take the prize money out of it and just do what you've done to get to this point, so that you're not second guessing yourself. Because if you change up what you've been doing and it doesn't work out, you're gonna be real mad at yourself. Go with this.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you when it comes down to it, guys. So we had a question. Thoughts
Scott,
on Henry? Should I drop?
Real quick, Scott, let us know how that goes. Let us know how that after week 16, come back in and check in because I'm definitely curious to hear how it goes.
Absolutely. That's so cool. I'm curious myself. Please check back in. Thoughts about Henry? Should I drop? I'm assuming this has to be Derrick Henry, right? At this point, because Hunter Henry just had one of the best games of the best game of the season and one of the best games of his career. So I can't assume he's talking about Hunter Henry here. So I'm thinking he's talking about Derrick Henry and his odds of coming back.
He won't be back for fantasy.
I don't think exactly. I'm right there with you.
He might be back for the NFL playoffs, but he won't be back for fantasy playoffs.
I'm not holding out any hope whatsoever for him. Zach, who would you play half PPR? Sony, Hendy, Penny, Miles Sanders. I wish you could have made it like
I know
an E, of some sort. Miley. We wouldn't know what you were talking about though.
No,
Iris.
So it looks like Zach has to choose just one of these options between Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson, Rashad Penny, and Miles Sanders. This is actually a really tough decision for me because, look, we don't know what the split's going to look up between Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson. Rashad Penny just had a really good game last week, but it was against an easy rush defense. He's playing a tough rush defense, and we don't know if he's going to have the same involvement. Miles Sanders is coming off of an injury, but he looks to be like he's the lead back. So, Rick, I want to come to you first. I'm putting you on the spot. If you had to choose one of these 4 running backs, who would it be?
This is really, really tough.
I know
because we thought Miles Sanders was the guy, and we thought that Mr. Gainwell was kind of pushed off, and then Gainwell came out last week and did what he did early in the season when we thought he was going to earn a bigger role. Obviously, Penny, we still can't be convinced or for sure that Penny will make it through an entire game. He's done it a couple times, but he has not had good luck in the injury thing. I feel like the best matchup is the Rams running backs versus Seattle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Seattle does not have a good rush defense.
I hate.
I wish we had one of these guys we just knew was going to get more work, right?
Yeah, I hate that, but I feel like the touchdown. I feel like both of them have more touchdown upside than the other 2 running backs. So, Henderson was the leader before. He also catches some passes, even though it's only half PPR. Sony really doesn't. I think I go Hendy, but this could literally be any of the 4.
What do you think, JL?
I would lean Sony Michel. We had to pick 2. No, we had to pick 1, just 1. So yeah, I would lean Sony Michel in this.
I lean Rashad Penny. Oh no, we didn't help you at all, Zach. We didn't help you at all.
Well, we ruled one out, right? We ruled out
Miles.
I don't even know if I want to rule out Miles Sanders. I kind of like Miles Sanders this week. These guys are like in the same. They're all in like a similar tier for me. If we were tiering running backs for week 15, I think they'd all end up pretty much in the same tier. But I lean Penny, Rick leans Hendy, and JL leans Sony. So it's pretty. I'm sorry. I wish we could provide more help right there. But when it comes down to it, that's it, right? So I think we're gonna wrap it up here pretty soon, guys. Jay had a question. Any tight ends you guys like as streaming options to replace Kelce if you were out? I just want to reiterate that Kelce is not been officially named out yet. He is on the COVID list. There's still a chance he could play this weekend when it comes down to it. But are there any streaming options that we feel comfortable recommending? And when it comes down to it, I think guys like Zach Ertz, Mike Gesicki, Dalton Schultz, Pat Freiermuth, Noah Fant, even Tyler Conklin are probably all rostered at the moment. But those guys I would put first. Cole Kmet comes to mind, JL. And I think and maybe Rick can speak to Cole Kmet a little bit more because he's a Bears fan, right, Rick? So
yes.
Is there anyone that stands out to you here?
You asking me now?
Yeah. Well, we mentioned Cole Kmet as like guys we're okay with streaming, and Cole Kmet.
They've been using Cole Kmet a lot more, even though Graham gets involved in the red zone. So I do like that. I do like Gerald Everett on the other side. He has been getting more involved in the Seattle offense, and then we saw this Waller situation in Las Vegas. If Foster Moreau is going to be starting, then he's an option. And then other than that, off the radar, James O'Shaughnessy. But I don't know.
I really want to see how good
a Jag offense
Ricky Seals-Jones does and Gerald Everett does tonight. If any one of those guys have a good game tonight, I think they're good streaming options going into next week.
Yeah. Scott brings up a good point that Freiermuth could be out heading into next week with the concussion.
Yes,
That's something we got to keep
absolutely.
an eye on for sure.
Yes, yeah, completely.
Okay,
agree
so
there.
who would start at tight end for them if he's out? Because Ebron's out, right?
Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm not going to mess around with that in my fantasy playoffs personally. When it comes down to it, I'd rather start the likes of Everett Komet.
Did you say it's Jay Sternberger?
Mm-hmm. It's third string.
That's interesting. I did not realize that.
Me neither. I know. I guess maybe I knew that he wasn't on the Packers anymore, but
for me, tight end is such a crapshoot that if I can get a tight end on a team that I know utilizes the tight end, especially in the red zone, then I don't mind it because I mean we're talking about most of these guys. If we get 6 to 8 out of them, we're gonna feel solid. We know that Pittsburgh uses them in the what?
I'm just laughing at the comments. Sorry. I
was like, well, why are you laughing at my take? Like I'm right here.
I'm sorry. I just sorry. That happens sometimes. Sometimes they'll be laughing. I'll be saying something. I'll be like, what did I say was funny? It's like, no, not you. You know, that happens.
That is a funny comment.
I'm very, very
Scott came and said, Josh, comment. I'm assuming comments. Freiermuth has a concussion and probably out. And then Joey came in and said, Josh Freiermuth is a sexy marriage of my 2 favorite people. So I don't know. It's a little funny. Guys, one more question and we're going to get out of here, okay? Sony Michel or Van Jefferson today? I am going with Van Jefferson. Rick.
Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson. JL?
It is Van Jefferson for me.
All right, we're all on the Van Jefferson side. So this was fun. Rick, thank you so much for joining us. It was a big help. We got through some questions. Thank you to the chat, everyone in the chat for joining. Please hit that like button. We're streaming every weekday, Monday through Friday at 3:00.
Year round.
Office hours at 4:15. We're on FanDuel at 6:00 Eastern time on Fridays. We do a Sunday recap on the FanDuel YouTube and Twitch. Also on Sundays, come check us out. We love when you guys are able to come in and make the chat an even better experience.
Hang out with us.
It usually is, right? Yeah, we love hanging out with you guys. And trading makes fantasy fun as well, right?
Yeah, we're here all year too. It doesn't stop. The fun does not stop. Also, I put a poll in the chat. Should you feel bad for your opponent losing a player like Kelce? 11 votes. No. 81% said no. 18% said yes.
Let's go.
Everybody.
Rick was the one that voted yes.
Yeah. I didn't even see it, but I would have. I would have tried.
You message Sully and Craig like you're fired if you don't. Vote yes.
I have like 10 YouTube accounts. I would have got in there with each one of them. But yes.
That's perfect. All right, so we're gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for joining, and good luck in your fantasy playoffs, especially if they're still going on tonight. Let's get those wins.
Games.
DK Metcalf over 35 points. Lock it in.
Let's do it.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.